And we are live, of course, just as I was coughing. Last night we tried to do a show with this here book, The Thrill of Fear, by Walter Kendrick, and my service went down, so I thought I'd try again. This here book explores not only fear, but the movies that inspire fear. Charles Darwin in 1872 described the symptoms of terror in his book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. And the author of this here book says that nothing has changed. Fear and terror are the same. I got itchies, and my cats are bugging me. Hi, Howard. I guess I'd better not mention anything that's happening in the world because that might be why I got cut off last night. Who knows? In the Middle Ages, the dead were not scary, though they could be decorative. Bones of the Capuchin monks. Oh, it's a photo of a um, monastery, Capuchin monastery mortuary chapel in Rome. I don't know how clear the picture's going to be for you, but there it is. Ah, my arms hurt from holding it up. Chapter 1 goes right into The Bride of Frankenstein. And last night, Witta helped me remember Elsa Lanchester as the Bride of Frankenstein. Hi, Viken. You finally caught me live, eh? Oh, wow. I can't guarantee that my connection will hold up today, but if I don't mention anything that might sound suspiciously unwoke, I think we're okay. Now, I can't read a whole lot from a copyrighted book, so I'll mostly paraphrase. The horror movie Bride of Frankenstein in 1935. Hey, Tora, quit it. The cat. Hi, Witta. Witta is here. Okay. They're here. Decent bookmark. um, Elsa Lanchester, as Witta reminded me last night before I was unceremoniously dumped off the internet, probably for something I said. And no, I don't cuss, at least not often. Anyway, the horror movie Bride of Frankenstein, the old black and white film that, oh, it was awesome. See, in the book, Dr. Frankenstein agrees to make a bride for the creature, but he just can't go through with it. The thought of them reproducing and making more of their kind just horrifies him. But in this movie, Bride of Frankenstein, he goes through with it. But even the female creature is afraid of Frankenstein's creature, Frankenstein's monster. Okay. And it has the impossible versions of Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, and Mary Shelley at the beginning of the movie. And then they begin showing Dr. Frankenstein. I find the book nearly unreadable, by the way. It isn't just that I don't like epistolary novels where everything is letters and diary entries and that sort of thing. It's poorly written. But oh well. It's a great story, just badly told. Oh, and this is the one where the creature, I don't like to call him monster, goes to the hut of the old blind hermit and learns words like good and bad and fire. And then the people of the town find him there and try to kill him. Okay. Ah, the seaside town suits the book. Beacon says it's dismally boring old rundown fishing town. Okay. Well, all right. Thanks to Cardinal Sin, I have been able to watch these monster movies. He sent me a set of DVDs of the classics. Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man. Get off me, Tora. You're a hog and a pest. Get up here and say hi to your adoring fans. You don't get treats till you say hello. Okay? Bad cat. Oh, she's heavy. She must be 15 pounds. What happened to the pretty little kitty that I brought home? Well, that someone brought to me, that is, 2 years ago. Is it 2 years now? Yeah. Yeah, it was right before I broke my hip. Wow. Cardinal Sin is really awesome. He also got me the desktop computer, which is behind me. I would have used it, but it's downloading updates to Windows. Okay, this book is quite academic. It even goes into Dr. Pretorius in the movie, The Bride of Frankenstein. He kind of pals up with the monster and convinces Dr. Frankenstein that he must make a bride for the creature. Good morning, Oswald. I hope the internet holds up this morning. Well, anyway, where'd I put the other book? The easy reading book on monster movies. What have I done with it? Flashlight. The lighting in this place really needs improvement. I think it's back here. Cora, will you please quit? She's upset because I'm not paying enough attention to her. Well, I don't think I'm going to find it today. Bummer. What have I done with it? There's one other possibility, and it just isn't very likely. Um, yeah. Okay. That one's going to have to wait a while. Maybe next week. Anyway, I found The Bride of Frankenstein more frightening than the first movie, in which the monster was kept killing people. It was not because they might have children, but because they forced a scientist who had made the mistake once to make the same mistake again and make two creatures. And one time I had a nightmare in which my mother turned into the Bride of Frankenstein. That was rather appropriate. Mom was a monster. Okay, now um, let's see. And he goes on, few pages later, Bride of Frankenstein, like many of its precursors and imitators, is set in an indeterminate past, full of anachronisms. It is merely long ago, and in this case, very far away from anything the viewer knows firsthand, and all the spookier for that reason. In other words, it's in the past, but there are things that are out of place in the time of the setting. This is, I think the novel, the novel was published in the 1800s. Hi, Cardinal Sin, we were just talking about you. Uh, and the wonderful movies you sent me with the monsters. So, Bride of Frankenstein is a sequel to Frankenstein. The novel Frankenstein was published in the 1800s, and we can assume, although it is not specified, that the movies are set in the 1800s. And yet, the movies have this amazing apparatus with Jacob's ladders, the sparks going up and up, and those balls. I keep forgetting what they're called. It's a ball that has sparks because it's connected to electricity. This is long before Tesla and his inventions. But it's a great visual. Now, in the novel, Mary Shelley does mention electricity and its ability to make a dead frog's legs move. I've seen that in college classes in biology. So, we can infer that her monster, cosmic rays in the novel. Thank you, Cardinal Sin. We can assume that the monster was brought to life by something electrical. Cosmic rays are sort of electrical. They are, I keep forgetting which radical it is, but they're pieces of atoms that have been stripped of some of their parts. In a 1970s TV movie, a modern day Frankenstein gives life to his monster using sunlight. Protons, Viken? I don't remember. Let's see. Cosmic rays. Google is my friend. Cosmic rays pose a threat to all electrons. So they're protons. Stripped of their electrons. They're electrically charged, deflected by various magnetic fields. Okay, cosmic ray, a high-speed particle, either an atomic nucleus or an electron that travels through space. Yeah, so it's usually protons, so Viken nailed it. They can do bad things to you. Skin cancer, for example. But we don't get a lot of them because of our atmosphere. See, air isn't just for breathing. Now, there's people who insist that Percy Shelley wrote Frankenstein, the novel. And it certainly shows clear signs that he had a hand in it. But the story, I think, is Mary Shelley's warning to Percy about where his obsession with the occult would lead. Sorry, it's morning. Yes, Cardinal Sin says, thank goodness for the magnetosphere. And that's one reason why the Van Allen belts are dangerous. The magnetic fields of the Earth and so forth trap these particles, and they basically orbit the Earth. So when the International Space Station got up a little too high, the astronauts were seeing flashes of light inside their eyes from cosmic rays, and they had to lower the space station to below the Van Allen belt. Well, Oswald, the thing is, the Van Allen belts have gaps. There are places where you can go right through because either the field in that spot is very weak or it isn't there at all. In addition, the effects of radiation on a living thing depend not only on the strength of the radiation, but also on the amount of time you spend in that field. Now, I'm sure that the Apollo mission scientists were well aware of the Van Allen belts and the danger they posed. I'm sure we went to the moon. I'm not sure we went in that tin can. I think NASA had technology that they did not disclose. My father worked on one of the Gemini capsules, one of the first. And he was just what they called a sheet metal engineer. He used machines that cut and shaped metal. And he wouldn't talk about it. He took an oath of secrecy. And apparently the one major thing that he did was make sure that the hinges on the door would work. However, what I find most fascinating is the space pen that will write upside down and underwater. Our astronauts did use pencils in zero gravity. The space pen is a myth created for marketing, the space pen. Also, they say, oh, the astronaut couldn't get out the door of the moon lander. It was too small. The astronaut stepped out, then got his backpack and put it on. Easy peasy. Our astronauts and scientists are not total idiots. Unlike Dr. Fauci. But that's another story. Yeah, we went to the moon. I don't know what we found there. They won't tell us. They won't show us. And I don't believe we went in a tin can. As Dr. Joseph P. Farrell points out, when the lunar lander took off from the surface of the moon, oh, I'm not stuttering, Cardinal Sin, but maybe my internet is being mean to me. I don't know. Must be the internet. Anyway, when the lander took off, it didn't take off as a normal rocket-propelled device would. It didn't gradually accelerate. It just went boom. Well, you're not going to get a good image because I didn't finish the updates on the desktop. so I had to use the laptop again. Hi, Athens. Anyway, the way the lunar lander took off to return to orbit was weird. It didn't seem like a rocket propelled device. Thanks to Joseph P. Farrell, I've looked at what footage is available and I went, oh yeah, that's weird. And then there's the idea that the moon is actually heavier and has more gravity than they're telling us. Hi, Jan. Anyway, because of copyright and so forth, I can't go through too much of this book. I can only recommend that you read it. The Thrill of Fear. Why do we like to be scared? Why do we pay to go to the theater and get frightened? Why are movies that scare people so successful? Oh, Cardinal Sin says Fringe. I take it you mean that series on, come on, brain, Netflix. I watched the first season and much of the second. Yeah, I think I watched all of the second season, but then it turned into a teenage love story, so I quit watching. Oh, Paul from Newcastle is here. Wow. My screen is tiny, so I lean forward to see the chat. And that leaning is easy in Great Granny's rocking chair. Anyway, Cardinal Sin, I am still totally delighted with the desktop computer and the speakers and everything. It's just updating Windows today. I'm sure we've been to the moon. Thing is, I'm sure that there have been visits to the moon that they never told us about. And what they do tell us often contradicts what they told us before. Sometimes they tell us that the composition of the moon is the same as the Earth, so it must have been a piece that was knocked off of the Earth. And then they tell us, oh no, the composition of the moon is completely different from the Earth. Athens bought a castle? For me? Wow. I can't sell it? Oh, I wonder where the castle is. We were warned off the moon apparently in 72. Well, as the Apollo missions were winding down, NASA told us that we would have men on Mars within 5 years. What happened? Let me turn on the heater. It's cold here. Oh, it's cold. There. We didn't go to Mars. Why not? Well, here we get into one of my weird experiences that might or might not be real. Might have been a dream. Except I don't think I was asleep. I might have been. I spent most of my time in my room where Mom couldn't complain that I was doing something wrong and shut the door. My cigarettes are empty, but I have another one. I found a local shop that sells Dunhills by the pack, so I can get a pack of Dunhills when I want one. They aren't super expensive compared to American cigarettes, but they do cost more. I'm curious about the Castle Athens. I have to move to Scotland? Well, I am at least 1/4 Scottish. I'm Clan Morrison from the Gilmores. Well, yes, Mars emits way too much methane for a dead planet. Newcastle is in North England. Yeah. Oh, anyway, there's all kinds of anomalies on Mars. And even if the famous face is not a face, it is not a natural formation. It's too symmetrical and too shiny. Have to tamp down cigarettes or because they pack them so loosely. Don't really have to do that with the Dunhills. They're a better quality than American cigarettes. Well, anyway, 1970, I was 16 years old. Found myself on a spaceship. At least that's what they told me it was. I don't believe them. And it could have been a dream, but I think it was real because they showed me the planet Jupiter and I looked and I said, it has to be Saturn. It has rings, even though the rings didn't look as bright as our textbook photos of Saturn. I figured, well, the real thing wouldn't necessarily look like a picture in a textbook. But they moved around and showed me the big red spot. So it was Jupiter and it had rings. Well, there might have been a few NASA scientists who knew in 1970 that Jupiter has rings. They're like Saturn's rings, but not as dense, not as bright. And I didn't learn about them until 1979, and that's when I went, whoa, maybe that wasn't a dream, maybe it was real. Anyway, their control panel on the bridge was just, it didn't have buttons, knobs, dials, switches. The people just ran their hand across the tabletop to work the controls. And I was told that, yeah, there's a light, and when your hand breaks the light beam, that's how they turn things on and off. Well, we didn't have anything like that in 1970. It was years later when it was decades later when we finally had touch screens, and before that we had buttons that were down inside the table, but you still had to push them, like the ATMs. Mm. Anyway, what they told me was that they could not go beyond the orbit of Jupiter because it was too dangerous, considering the war out there, that we were at war with an alien race from the outer solar system. Okay, Athens R says, "Love you, Mom." Am I your mom? I don't think so. Maybe. Oh, by the way, I'm now a great grandmother. A few weeks ago, my great grandson was born. I haven't seen him in person, but I have a photo of him as a newborn. Cardinal Sin, no, I've told this story here and there. It happened in 1970, Cardinal Sin. I've had so many weird experiences that oh, I'm Granny the Great, Oswald says. Well, I hope so. I'd love to be a rich and famous author, but apparently most authors become rich and famous after they die. Not worth it. So, anyway, in a series of either dreams or visions or maybe visitations, they told me that these two teenage crew members on the ship were my children. And I said, "That's impossible. They're about my age." And they said, "Well, we've been taking your eggs since you were 3 years old." And they apologized for the pain that it caused me. Oh, now Cardinal Sin wants me on Into the Fringe. I'm uncomfortable talking about this, but I do remember the pain in things I just assumed were dreams and not real. I did not have any maternal feelings toward these young teenage boy and girl who were supposedly my children. They said they were humans, but genetically superior to the people of Earth, that they had colonized Mars and other places in our ancient history, and that because of the hazards of space travel, along with a what's the word? Well, their genetic program to improve the race, they were no longer able to have children. Yeah, it sounds like alien abduction, but I'm not convinced. I lean more toward some form of mind control with hypnotism and planted false memories. Whatever it was, we couldn't go past Jupiter, because the orbit of Jupiter, because of the war. It was too dangerous. And that visit to see the rings of Jupiter, sorry, really congested this morning. That visit was a sort of parting gift as they were dropping me from whatever the program was. So it wasn't like self aggrandizement. They told me I was neither mentally nor physically fit to participate. Gee, thanks. Well, uh, among the many things that I thought I'd dreamed or imagined was the UFO. It was not a flying saucer. I was able, even decades later, to be certain of the approximate date of August 1960 because that was when my older brother got a telescope for his birthday. And we were in the backyard after dark looking through his telescope. And this glowing red orange globe, red but orangey, came from the north toward our yard and started coming down into our yard. And I thought I'd imagined it until the early 2000s. My brother just mentioned it during a phone call. Do you remember that those red glowing objects in the sky? And I just about fell off my chair. Um, and then a few years after that, I just stumbled upon, oh, the sun's in my eyes. Well, I've shown you the book before, UFOs over California. I stumbled upon an ad for that book. You know how websites get you to watch their ads by giving you juicy things to read or view? It was one of those. And it talked about glowing red objects in the sky over California in 1960. In my case, it was August. Around the 4th, definitely the 4th or after the 4th of August. And these things were not only globes, but box shapes and triangles and all, well, pyramids. They were 3D. All kinds of shapes were seen over California, from Northern California down into Baja, and the sightings lasted for months, maybe a year or more. And there were newspaper articles. Some of the people who saw it were police officers. President of UK, Athens, okay. Athens is president of UK. They don't have a president. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about it. I'm like, people already claim that I'm crazy. One person, K.W. Jeter, claims that I threatened Phil with a gun. I didn't own a gun. I never had owned a gun, and I certainly never threatened anybody with a gun. And he gets up under oath in court and says that I did. I'm like, what? That was Laura's mother, Anne. Threatened Phil with a gun and was locked up in a mental hospital for a while. Now, she's dead, so I guess I shouldn't speak ill of her, but according to Phil, she wanted him to quit writing and go to work in her jewelry business because they needed the money. Oh, dear. There's a Green King of UK, and Oswald thinks it might reference environmentalism, but more likely reptiles or aliens. Well, do you know the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? The Green Knight was literally green, and Sir Gawain was staying at his castle. And they made a deal that every day the Green Knight would go out hunting and bring whatever he got to give to Sir Gawain. But Sir Gawain had to give whatever he got to the Green Knight. And all went well until the day that what Gawain got was a kiss from the wife of the Green Knight. Well, Sir Gawain was disgraced when he lied and didn't give the Green Knight the kiss that he had received. So after that, we had the Knights of the Green Garter, wearing a green garter in memory of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I don't know about reptilians or greys or insectoids. I've never seen one. I think I would remember if I had. Every alien I've seen, or they claim to be aliens, looked perfectly human and said, yeah, we're human, but we're better than you. Yeah, they're so much better, they can't have babies, they have to steal ours. Hence all the stories of the fairies and pixies stealing babies and maybe leaving behind a sickly fairy infant. Horrors, horrors, horrors. Well, yeah, the royals are strange because they're inbred. The Habsburgs, in particular, tended to be deformed. They'd have huge, jutting lower jaws that made it difficult for them to eat or speak, and many had the hare lip, where the lip has a gap in the middle, the upper lip, so they lisped. No, Cardinal Sin, I have not seen the Green Knight movie. You misspelled my name, but I saw it. I don't get out much. And our one and only movie theater on the mountain has gone out of business. Long story. Why is Athens wanting to go? Where's he going? Whatever. I don't understand the conversation. And then there's all of Queen Victoria's children. the males often get hemophilia, the bleeding disease. You're moving into your castle, I hope. Um, uh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The male descendants of Queen Victoria often get hemophilia, the bleeding disease. And the female descendants tend to be carriers of that gene. And since it's on the X chromosome, and men have an X and a Y, but women have two X's, the women who get one gene for the bleeding disease have another gene that's normal. So they might bleed more than usual, but it isn't life-threatening. Yes, changeling, when they swap babies, the fairies swap babies, they leave a changeling. And the changeling usually fails to thrive and often dies in infancy. Oh, yeah. Hi, Jan. Yeah, some of the royals had syphilis and other disgusting diseases. Cardinal Sin is going to send me a changeling? Oh, the movie. Is it on DVD or Blu-ray already? I actually prefer the DVDs, and I'm not sure why. But I like them. I haven't watched all of the movies that Cardinal Sin already sent me. There's only so many hours in a day. Anyway, see ya, Athens. Um, yeah. I'm positive that Phil had real experiences, had been abducted, had been, I almost said brainwashed. Well, maybe that's the word. He'd been manipulated and had his memories messed with. Well, Athens is going to send me the deeds, okay? I would love to visit England and Scotland and even Ireland. But travel is kind of difficult these days, and I haven't been completely jabbed, so I might not be allowed on the plane. And it's expensive. But at one point, someone, and I've forgotten, but someone at some university in England wanted to arrange a trip for me to be a speaker or a guest of honor or something. It never happened. Well, Athens. Uh, Here's an address. If you want to post something. What have I done? CA is California. Let's see. Typo. Okay, zip code. There. I made the S in USA little. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, that's my mailing address. I don't know. There are many movies I've wanted to see and never did, and then some I got on DVD or I streamed on the internet. Back in the dark ages, I'd watch them on television with commercials and badly cut up to fit the time slot and remove bad words. You wouldn't believe what words were bad when I was growing up. Mom would not let me call a lollipop a sucker because she thought sucker was a bad word. I don't need the grief. It's probably a prank, a joke, a practical trip, as Poirot would say. That's okay. I'll find it amusing. Unlike some of our politicians, I have a sense of humor. It's ridiculous to take life too seriously. I take my writing seriously, but I do have fun with it. I have a story that I think I'm going to submit to a magazine. Also, the publication of Somnoscope, the anthology that contains one of my stories, has been delayed. They promised it would be out by Christmas. They couldn't do it last year, so they were going to do it for Christmas this year. But I don't know the details, but it's been delayed by about 3 months. So maybe in March you'll be able to buy Somnoscope from Fractured Mirror Publishing. Fractured Mirror has a website. They've put out Mirror Maze, the first anthology edited by Cliff Jones, and they're going to put out Somnoscope, the second anthology edited by Cliff Jones, with many different authors with some illustrations, some poetry, some stories, and some articles. I'm your lost mom, huh? Well, I tried to be a good mother. My son says I was, but I know I made horrible mistakes, mostly through impatience. I just didn't take the time. It's my Nephilim crossbreed, Viken says. No, I never had a daughter. Um, I did have a spontaneous miscarriage. Didn't even know I was pregnant and lost it. And it had terrible physical effects on my body, and I was sad. And, it was like less than 6 weeks, so who knows the gender, but I always thought I would have had a daughter if I hadn't had that miscarriage. That's one of the things these so called aliens told me. They said they'd taken all my eggs, but they would allow me to have one child. Well, I had one. The second one, I lost. So they were right there, and they had told me that before I ever had sex. Oh, well, Athens, I appreciate any help I can receive, and I do try to help others when I'm able. For example, a local man was going hungry because his monthly check had not arrived. So I went through my pantry and pulled out a few things for another friend to take to him. I don't go hungry. At least not yet. I mean, everybody might go hungry if the um, future holds a railroad strike and a shortage of diesel fuel. Then people might go hungry. But I really do have plenty of food. It isn't necessarily, high class, delicious, but it'll feed me. Rice, dried beans, pasta, cheese. Love cheese. But these problems, along with the shortage of fertilizer and the expensive prices of fertilizer these days, we might have less fresh produce. But at least for the time being, the these big conglomerates that make stuff that they call food have plenty in stock. The question is, will the trucks that deliver to our grocery stores have enough fuel to deliver it? Oh, well, that's sad. I never. My son is so much like his dad, and I don't hold it against him. And over time, my anger against his dad for cheating on me uh, has subsided. I mean, he's really the only man I truly loved and wanted to spend my life with, but he wasn't in on the game. He wanted to hop around. Staying late at the park. Well, Athens, you need to work that out. I don't recommend psychiatrists. Maybe a counseling psychologist or just a friend you can talk to. You need to work it out. And I'm very sorry, Athens, for all you've suffered. Keep in mind that we all suffer in different ways. And sometimes when someone hurts you, it's because they're hurting. I had a real pest, a local who had drug and alcohol problems, and she got plenty of money from her disability pension, but she'd spend it all and be unable to pay her rent. And one day when she was making a big fuss, and there were a couple idiotic workmen making fun of her, I just went out there and gave her a great big hug. And it really made a difference. Oswald's living in a Philip K. Dick story. Now, how could we not? Yeah, you're right there, Athens. I have trouble saying to anyone, I love you. I had trouble saying that to Phil. I used to write it down because I couldn't say it out loud. Love is not something you say, it's something you do. And as angry as I was when he was in the hospital, I took care of him. Poor Athens. Well, I couldn't get to Scotland. If I'd known, I might have found a way. You need to read Shakespeare's play, King Lear. His 3 daughters, 2 of them just fawn all over him and say, "We love you," and blah, 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 and all this huggy stuff. The third one says, "I love you as is my duty." And she's the one who's really loyal to him, but he cuts her out of his will. And she still stands by him when he's in trouble and rescues him from madness and the machinations of the other 2 daughters who were just in it for the money. You gotta read King Lear. See you, Athens, and be brave and be good. And here's a virtual hug. Yeah, I love cheesecake too, vegan. I get canned cherry pie filling and pour it on top. Heaven. And by the way, I love all my listeners. I love you all, including Athens. Well, we're way off the track of the thrill of fear, but who needs fear when we have each other? Ah, yeah. I guess Tora's finally given up on the pestering. That's a good thing. Sweetie went back to her bedroom. It's become hers, not mine. Uh, oh, wow. Yeah, I've been on for an hour and I still have internet. Something is going right today. I wonder what these dots are for on the bottom of the screen. I have no clue. My phone keeps telling me it has some message for me. I'm ignoring it. Yeah. Wow. We didn't get our snow. It decided to make us wait another day. But it's sunny but overcast and cold. The temperatures are in the 30s. Around 2 or 3 degrees centigrade. But in the 30s Fahrenheit. Anyway, yeah, I've had all kinds of weird things happen. And some of them would require me to be in 2 places at the same time, which would really upset me. One afternoon in particular, I was in the 4th grade, so I was 10 years, wait a minute, 9 years old. The teacher was lecturing, and I was focused and paying attention because they said I tended to daydream and not pay attention. And suddenly, like a transparency overlaid, there was this other place, like an office or a conference room with a bunch of people talking to me. And I wanted to hear what my teacher was saying. It's kind of like the adjustment team. Another Philip K. Dick story. Like I wasn't supposed to be there while they were changing things. At least I didn't see a big iron mask in the sky like Phil did. He looked toward the sunset one afternoon, long before I met him. And he saw this big iron mask in the sky, which inspired his novel, The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. Anyway, enough of my weird experiences. I do understand now, though, I've got to mention the buzzing in my ears. Usually, when I was relaxed, sitting or lying down, my ears would start to buzz, and that would be a sign that an experience was about to happen. Well, now I'm not epileptic. When I was 17, a neurologist ran an EEG and all this stuff and concluded that my brainwaves did not show epilepsy, but I must have a sleep disorder that caused something like seizures. And I remember then it would start, I'd be sound asleep, maybe even dreaming. And then there'd be this buzzing in my ears. But it began after I had a spectacular fall with a horse, not from the horse, with the horse. The horse fell. I jumped off a little too soon and he landed on my feet and we went sliding down the hill. The horse was in worse shape than I was, but my head did get banged up. And I outgrew it. And it happened only when I was sleeping. But from time to time, I'll get that buzzing in my ears. And I shake my head. I might get up. I might walk around. If I'm already walking around, I might sit down. And it goes away. But, yeah. So there's the possibility that many of these things that happened to me were dreams or visions and not real. Or maybe they're real memories coming back to me. They did tell me, those human aliens, that I was remembering things I was supposed to forget. Maybe I'll remember more as time goes on, but man, I'm less than 2 years short of 70. I'm old. I think I'm 26 until I get up from my chair and realize that I'm not. Yes, Oswald, sometimes dreams and visions are real. The unconscious brings them up for us. Like, hey, you forgot about this. Take a look. I have another 20 to 40 years left. Well, 20 is possible. I'm 68 and a half. When you're very young and very old, that half a year counts. Um, That'd make me 88. I might make it to 98. I doubt I'll make it to 108. I'm not sure I want to, but we'll see. Right now, I've got a broken back that needs to heal. The bones are not broken, they're cracked. But the discs in between are smushed. And they can't do anything. There is a surgery. My GP does not recommend it, and I don't want it. I've known people who had back surgery, and every one of them says they're worse off afterward. There's the expense, there's the pain, there's the recovery, and damn it, I'm worse off than I was before. Humph. What I count on is that I'm the fortunate descendant of survivors. Yeah, I'd love to have decent pain treatments. I tried CBD oil, it doesn't do it for me. I use Bengay deep heating rub. It actually puts it's a lotion, and it actually puts aspirin into the area where you rub it on, and it has I think it's menthol, an aromatic that I actually like. It smells like Vicks Vapor Rub. Um, Might be camphor. I don't know. Eucalyptus oil. I just don't remember what the label said. The pain pills, frankly, don't relieve the pain. They make me vomit. The pill can't do much if it won't stay down. And I have been given antiemetics, and a second pill to stop the vomiting. They're not very effective. And what I noticed with Vicodin was that I was starting to get withdrawals between doses, so I quit taking them. And for about a day and a half, maybe 2 days, I had vaguely flu-like symptoms, a little shaking, a little sweating, but it beat heck out of projectile vomiting, so I just dealt with it. And never went back. I do like things like aspirin and ibuprofen and Aleve. That's naproxen. Uh, but I don't take them all the time. They have side effects too, but at least they aren't addictive and they don't make me vomit. And besides, I don't need a prescription. Um, yeah. I don't have a lot of pain. It's here and there. If I get a little too active or lift things, my back will start killing me. So what I do is the stretching exercises that the chiropractor gave me years ago when I could afford to pay a chiropractor. And they do help. But the main thing right now is I'm waiting for the results of the biopsy on my stomach. they're looking for cancer. I don't think they'll find any, at least not in my stomach. But they will find an H. pylori infection, I'm sure, because I have ulcers, along with the hiatal hernia, in which the top of the stomach will poke up into the gap in your diaphragm, your breathing muscle, where the esophagus is coming down to your stomach. Apparently, the gap is a little bigger than it ought to be, and the stomach starts poking up. Um, I've found exercises where I put a little pressure on my abdomen and it provides some relief. It probably pulls the stomach down, but it has to be gentle. You can't just mangle your belly. Oh, all is well, Howard. There's widespread painkiller abuse during the bubonic plague. Did they have opium then? Yeah, they probably did. The bubonic plague actually hit more than once over a period of about 300 years in the what we would call the Renaissance, not the Middle Ages, not the Dark Ages. The Renaissance killed half the population of Europe. That was before antibiotics. But Nostradamus cured many people by forcing them to get out in the sunshine and fresh air, taking all their furniture, all their bedding, all their clothing outside, giving it a good shake, cleaning it, washing their clothes, and quit shutting yourself up in a darkened room whether you're sick or not. And the critics will say, but he couldn't save his own family. Well, yeah, he wasn't there. He was out treating other people when his family came down with the plague. All's good. All's good, yeah. One time, I guess I was like 17 or 18, I smoked hash that was mixed with opium. And I can tell you, it is, one hit doesn't mean you're addicted, but I really wanted more, and that scared me. So I never went there again. So I could imagine myself like those people in opium dens, not eating, not sleeping, just smoking opium until you die from it. No thanks. And every time they come up with a painkiller to replace opium or heroin, by the way, heroin was supposed to be the non addictive replacement for morphine. Didn't work out that way. They try to make it at least less addictive. It just isn't happening. Some are worse. It's it really is horrible. Do you know that poppy seeds that you use in cooking, like you put them on muffins or dinner rolls, they have a small amount of opium in them. Not as much as the ones from the red poppies that are called opium poppies. And of all things, nutmeg. Nutmeg has, if not opium, something that does show positive on a test for opium. And I love to put tons of nutmeg on my eggnog. Well, I think Athens, if she's truthful, he or she, um, is hurting very badly, but that's if she's telling the truth. Who knows? Might be an amusing story. Well, I cannot say that I'm proud of everything I've ever said or done. Quite the contrary. But I do try to be better every day. And what really comes along with old age, besides wisdom, is you're slower and more quiet. And that makes a big difference in how you relate to other people. But I'm still stubborn and ornery. And I really want to know the reality behind these strange experiences that I've had. Yep, Howard, I believe it. Your sister tested positive after a poppy seed bagel. Yeah, that'll do it. It depends upon how sensitive the test is, too. A really sensitive test will uh, detect a mere trace. I love all the old stories of people busted for a bag of white powder in their car that turned out to be baking soda because back in the day it was not that uncommon for your carburetor to catch fire. And they recommended that if that happened, you pour baking soda on it. How did I end up trying kratom? Well, it doesn't do it for me. I tried it, Oswald. I do appreciate it, but frankly, I do better on a glass of Alka Seltzer. However, I have a friend who uses kratom and was delighted to get a donation. So it didn't go to waste. He swears that it works, but not for me. And the CBD that I got from a reputable vendor and so forth, it feels good going on, but it just doesn't have the bang or the punch of Bengay. And it costs a lot of money. Jesus. Oh well. I have found something and I keep forgetting why it's so good for us. Daryl Lee Soft Australian Licorice Original Flavor. Real licorice from a licorice tree. No high fructose corn syrup. Plant based. Ingredients: wheat, glucose syrup. I think that's what the British call golden syrup. Not sure. But it isn't corn syrup. Uh, Flour, sugar, molasses, treacle. Treacle is a little less refined than molasses. Water, sunflower oil, coined, coined, colored with caramel color. Licorice extract, aniseed oil. Aniseed also tastes like licorice. Um, I have a jar of it in my spice rack. Licorice extract, aniseed oil, salt, Mono and diglycerides and carnauba wax. Well, don't freak out that there's wax in it. It isn't bad for you. It just, um, you know, it does nothing. It's inert. Can you buy Dara Lee products? Yeah, they're at the Ace Hardware store. And now they're at our local grocery store, Goodwin's Market. But I bought mine at Ace Hardware because that's where I was. I had to get a winter blanket for my water heater. That'll help with the heating bill. It's a gas water heater. And Deacon says, yes, we call it golden syrup. Cool. I watched this Canadian guy, Glenn and Friends, cooking on YouTube. And he talks about all this stuff. I have not tried Vegemite, although Glenn and Friends is always talking about Vegemite and Marmite. I think he has Marmite. They're basically the same thing. It's a vegetarian flavoring. I'm told that the British and Australians mostly, will just spread it on toast and eat it, but even Glenn, the Canadian, says he doesn't like it. But if you put a teaspoonful in a big pot of soup, it really ups the flavor. Oh, God. Jan, the postage from there is outrageous, and I can get Vegemite. Probably a lot cheaper than the postage from Tasmania. So hold off on that. Witta eats Vegemite on toast with butter. The only person on earth who actually likes Vegemite. Okay, but added to other foods, it really does something, what they call umami, to the flavor. We used to call it pungent, but somehow pungent got a negative connotation. Pungent, or umami, is a flavor that makes you close your eyes and go, mmm, good. Oh, Jan likes Vegemite. Okay. Well, I really can get it. I just haven't felt the urge to do so. So, I might try it at least in a pot of vegetable soup. Jan grew up on Vegemite on toast. Is my heater on? I feel cold. Let me check. Yeah, it's on, but let's boost it. Dum 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 dum. Dum dum dum. Come on. Plugging in the electric heater. Electric fan heater. Get this out of the way. Ah, it's cold. Okay. Now you've got Howard looking for Vegemite. If all else fails, Amazon has it, but I know Amazon is evil. But they do sell my books. Anyway, it is about time to start the day. And it's cold. Ah. Boost my heating pad that I'm sitting on. It says right on it, don't sit on it, but Hey, I'm sitting on it. Oh yeah, my gas bill is double what it was last year. And I checked, I used a little bit more, but not twice as much. It's the price that went up. Fortunately, some wonderful people went to GoFundMe and gave me enough to pay it. We America, the U.S. in particular, is a very charitable nation, and I think we'd do better if the government quit spending money on things that private charities could handle more efficiently with less graft and corruption. But regulations have actually made it more difficult and sometimes impossible to help people in need. You guys missed the morning streams? Well, maybe I'll focus more on mornings. The 8 p.m. slot didn't work out too well. I suspect that maybe the cloud cover interfered with my internet signal, but my device said I had a strong signal, and yet YouTube said, "Your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect." So I went to another platform and streamed on there for just a few minutes, and it was fine. Same internet connection, same computer, different website. I tried to take the YouTube creator survey, but it froze up on me after I finally got a box where I could write something and I complained. I didn't think anyone was looking at those surveys in real time. Anyway, last night around 8:30 I got online and I wasn't on very long before YouTube decided that my stream was over. Maybe it was because I had mentioned some things in the news that they don't want people to hear. Like people across the Pacific Ocean from here holding up blank sheets of paper to indicate that they are not allowed to speak freely. People way down south from here protesting a choosing of politicians and so forth. Yeah, there have been some riots when the authorities tried to stop the demonstration. The demonstrators rioted, but they are not looting stores. They are not setting fires. That would be a mostly peaceful protest. We're living in an alternate universe for sure. If you get your news from the mainstream media, you're ill informed. I try to watch them when they aren't making me puke with their garbage. But even KFI, the radio station, the AM 640, has gone woke. And I'm on the fence about Twitter. I don't know. But, things are happening that we don't know about because nobody tells us. The alternative media do have a lot of misinformation, but they also have some real things that we wouldn't know about otherwise. And I think our government should trust us to be smart enough to tell the difference. Oh, KPFA. Yeah, I believe that's the public broadcasting radio station. First came across it when Phil was on with what's his name? Can't remember the guy's name. But Phil announced that the phone company and crabgrass were taking over the universe. And in a sense, he was serious. The phone company has pretty much taken over our world. Now they're the internet. And where do most of us get information? On the internet. And we pay through the nose to receive propaganda and advertising. Oh well. Now, if you see an ad on my videos, I don't get anything for it. But YouTube has decided that since they provide me a free platform to talk to you all, they're entitled to run ads on the replay. I don't know whether they're doing it, but they can if they want to. Anyway, for a time I listened to KPFA. They had some posts that I really liked. But I've moved on. And it's hard to get radio stations here on the mountain anyway. But for a year or two, I listened to the radio every night. I didn't have internet at home, only at work. Dark ages, 1990s. Oh, now the heating pad's too hot. I probably should wind down and go do something useful like get some breakfast. Let me refill my water. I won't sign off just yet. Oh, Lord. Really, I think we're living in the penultimate truth, or the short story on which it's based, The Defenders, where the people are living underground and working in the factories to um, produce weapons for the war above ground when the war isn't even happening. It's all fake. Fake news. Well, KPFA was kind of good for a while. Anyway, Phil was interviewed twice by the same host on KPFA, And I just don't remember the host's name. I should remember it. He was quite well known, but I'm blanking on it. Oh, well, congratulations to your son, Jan. That's awesome. Um, wow. We're living in some ways in the ersatz world of Perky Pat. Instead of going out and meeting people, we sit at home and turn on technology to connect with people. So autis- a autistic young man moved to Canada from Australia. That is a great achievement. Early on, we feared that our son, my son, might be autistic, but he's not. He's very sociable. He just had some attention deficit, but he's overcome that. He's outgrown it. It's quite common for a young boy to outgrow the symptoms that might indicate autism or ADHD. And I think uh, that's okay. They can be who they are and what they are. And if you don't make a big deal out of it or make them feel bad about it, then life goes on. But someone who's truly autistic really has a struggle in life. So your son is a champion. Well, I hope he finds his happy place. That's a good, good boy, good man. Saving up and following his dream. Tora's back. She goes paw, paw on my lower leg. Yes, I know what that means. You've had enough treats. Oh, she's a cat. There's no such thing as enough. Okay. You want some chicken flavor? There. Here. I guess I should open a can for the cats. That might reduce their craving for treats. Well, anyway, yeah, it really is time to get going. I've been on for almost 2 hours. Oh, as at the beginning, I was talking about the thrill of fear and why do we pay good money to sit in a darkened theater and get frightened? Fear activates something basic in us. Yeah, there's the adrenaline rush. You might freeze, you might tremble, you might scream, but you are releasing something inside you that needs to be released when you release your fear. And the theater is a safe place to do that. You aren't really being attacked by a mugger or whatever, or a murderer, but you get to go through the experience in a safe context. So, yeah. And it can actually result in your organs flushing out toxins that have built up. Your bladder, your bowel, your lungs. You know how after the fearful situation is over, many people will hyperventilate. They're purging their lungs of something that doesn't belong there. Some people pee or something else when they're frightened. They're eliminating toxins. So if you're that kind, I recommend you wear an adult diaper when you see a monster movie, a horror movie. Oh, and I did want to mention before I go, Jacob's Ladder, a movie about a veteran who has PTSD really bad. Now, it isn't really clear in the movie. It's understated, but underlying his strange, frightening experiences is that while he was in the military, an experimental drug was used on him, a drug that was supposed to make soldiers more willing to fight and kill, but it made them crazy. And apparently that really happened. It's an old movie. I first saw it on a videotape in the early 90s. But it's still good and it's scary. Well, not just LSD, Vegan. It was something worse. The story goes that they took LSD and modified it. Something's falling from the sky. I can't tell. No, it isn't snow. I guess it's the leaves from the oak tree. Darn. I want it to snow because when it snows, it actually gets warmer. Now, it gets warmer when it rains, but then you get wet if you go out in it. When snowflakes fall on you, it isn't like you're getting soaked. You come in and take off the wet jacket and you're good. Anyway, if you get a chance, if you want to see something really frightening because it could be real, find Jacob's Ladder. It might be streaming somewhere on the internet. I know you can get a DVD or a Blu ray. Anyway, I really gotta go now. It's been real, and I'm so glad that all of you came by. And Vegan caught me live for a change. Oh, and one more thing. Philip K. Dick's short story for Dangerous Visions, Faith of Our Fathers. It is not about religion, it's about LSD and an antidote for it. And when he sees reality, it's a shocker at the end of the story, and it might be true today. All of you, let's see. Thank you all for listening and have a great day. No typos. I'm getting better at this. Bye.